Welcome to BROWducation. I'm so stoked to have my good friend Molly on. It's been a long time coming. So, Molly, let's go ahead and dive in. What inspired you to start Skin by Molly and kind of give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Well, I've always been kind of into skincare, like health, beauty, things like that. My grandmother, who I call Nanny, she was really into like sunscreen. I remember every single night before she went to bed, she did like a full skincare routine, but I didn't know what an esthetician even was until I met Megs. She was going to Marinello, which is now closed. But anyway, she was coming through, you were coming through my checkout line at S&S. And I was like, "Are you a nurse? Because you're wearing scrubs." And you're like, "No, I'm in the
All white
esthetician
scrubs.
program." I was like, "What is that?" And you told me what it
Yeah.
was. And I literally think I called out. I was like, "I have to go. Job.
I
Somebody's calling me." So yeah, it worked out. And in February, it'll be 10 years.
I know, isn't that
So
insane?
yeah. And then I think what inspired me, well, to start my own business, because for the first couple years, I worked at Massage Envy, as you know. And I just really could not do the basic spa facial anymore. It was so hard mentally because, you know, I just don't really feel like that was what the consumer was really wanting. And so I felt like I wasn't helping anybody. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't changing people's skin. I just kind of veered towards like more targeted corrective treatments. And I struggled for a really long time because back when all this was happening, it was before other estheticians were doing that. Or at
Yeah.
least anybody that I knew. I didn't know anyone that did a facial without massage.
Yeah.
So it was a risk. It was definitely a risk, but it paid off.
I think it's funny that you say that though, because I feel like one of the things, and I don't want to bash like facialists, obviously, who do the spa facial and the massage. I think there's a time and a place for it for sure. But it's funny because I feel like the same way we didn't know of anybody who didn't do it without massage, we also didn't know of a lot of people that had targeted skincare, like at least not advertising or marketing in that way. So I feel like even
Mhm.
though it was nerve wracking for you, it's funny looking back because it's almost just like the most clear cut niche to dive into in order to grow success. Like hindsight is 2020, obviously. In the moment, it didn't probably feel like that. But looking back, it makes so much sense because I just don't think, especially in our area, and I feel like a lot of my listeners hear that I'm from California and think that we're in like a bigger city, but we're in a really small town. And our
Yeah.
trends here are definitely behind the times. It takes a little while for everybody to kind of pick up on what the rest of the industry is seeing. And
Mhm.
I just feel like it's kind of cool in being in a smaller area is you're able to notice those things and see what's really important and what's working elsewhere and bring it to a town. And as long as you're like, consistent and able to like push through the lull until people kind of get it, it's cool to watch the boom once they do get it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. As somebody who kind of lives and breathes skincare, what's one underrated product or ingredient you swear by that more estheticians should be using or recommending?
That's a good one. Beta glucan. Beta
Okay.
glucan is okay. So think hyaluronic acid, but better. Hyaluronic acid is like a really big name. We all obviously hear that all the time. But in my experience, overuse can actually cause dehydration in the skin because it pulls water.
Yes.
And then
Uh-huh.
there's also, I'm reading this book. It's called, let me just pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
It's called Vitamin A Skin Science, a scientific guide to a scientific guide to healthy skin.
Cool. We'll add that in the show notes too.
Yeah. So in that book, he mentions that hyaluronic acid is actually not very effective just applied topically. So you have to microneedle it in. Anyways, back to beta glucan. Beta glucan is another humectant. And not only is it hydrating, but there's no downside of like overuse. It improves your skin barrier as you use it. So I think beta glucan should be the new hyaluronic acid. That's what we should all be talking about.
I feel like I forget who said it was. A celebrity was saying that certain things have bad PR, and I feel like certain ingredients have bad PR and other ones have too good a PR teams where these names go viral. I feel like one of the big things is obviously larger brands grabbing onto something that's trending, using it everywhere, and then people being like, "That's the only thing I should use because it's everywhere." And then you're like, "It's actually not doing what you want. It's they're just using it as a tagline, basically, for good marketing, like the clean beauty thing."
Yes, yes, I
Which
agree.
is also
I
another
agree.
annoying
Another
one.
thing that is like that for me is hydrofacial.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay,
think
let's get into that.
okay.
What do you
Yeah,
hate about it?
well, so my stance on hydrofacial and dermaplaning while we're at it
Yeah.
is we don't need to be so harsh and abrasive with our skin.
I
We
agree.
definitely have done that in the past, and I think the science is evolving to where it's much more beneficial to put back into the skin. Hydrate. You want your skin to be nice and soft and supple, and you wanna, like, feed it instead of, like, stripping.
Yeah.
And I think that both hydrofacial and dermaplaning are just too abrasive and too they're agitating to the skin. But
Yeah.
that's just my opinion. I know that there's many estheticians that I love and respect out there that do both of those things, but for me, my practice, it doesn't make sense for me.
I totally agree, and I think that there's a lot of, like,
Excuse me.
racing to instant results type of thing where we all cause trauma in order to get that instant gratification, and I just don't feel like
Yeah.
it's worth it. I feel like I'd rather go slow and steady to win the race versus just trying to hurry there and then have to backpedal later on to fix whatever damage you created by trying to get, I don't know, those results. I feel like it just seems so backwards for what we're doing, and especially when skincare, in my opinion, is longevity, not like this week or next week or before a big event. I feel like I want my skin to look better 5, 10 years from now, not
Mhm.
just right now.
Yeah. And I do think both of those things provide an instant gratification, which is great for some people, but I've built my business more around like what you mentioned, like long-term delayed gratification for really great results that will last you a lifetime.
Exactly, exactly. And we all want to look good when we're old, right?
Yeah. So cool.
We've all had those what am I doing moments. Was there a turning point or challenge in your skincare journey that shaped how you approach clients today?
Wow. That is a very deep question. I would say yes. Okay, so when I was working at Massage Envy, as I mentioned before, the basic like spa facial is just so different from what I do now. And when I was doing that, I felt very lost and a huge hit to my confidence because I don't know if I would even consider myself really somebody that like people wanted to come back to
Mm.
because I wasn't very passionate about that type of facial. Um, my I always all of my previous jobs, I always thought I could do it better. I was not a good employee. Um,
So the same thing.
so I'm like, am I literally just here to do facials to sell products like at Massage Envy? And it was a definitely what am I doing moment. I knew that I wanted to continue to be an esthetician, but I was like, is it really feasible? Like, is there anything out there that's gonna provide better results for my clients. Like, I just didn't know that there was anything but what I was doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a huge turning point and it changed everything. I mean, how I do my consultations, how I talk about skincare, how I apply it. And yeah, and then things just started to shift from there.
So Massage Envy kinda just felt like everything you didn't wanna do, basically. Like, it was kind of your
Yeah,
blueprint for go the
what
opposite
not to
way.
do.
Yeah, that totally
It's,
makes sense.
I don't think things as personal as skincare and like massages should be like made into a factory like that, you know?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that,
a monthly thing. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think for, my listeners and everything that in the brow world, it's like a European wax center, right? Where it's chop and go station where they're just looking at times and tickets, and the clients are just seen as dollar signs, and it's just gross. I don't know.
business
I
model.
understand,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I understand what they're doing, and I definitely see the draw from the client side of a monthly membership and it low cost, but I feel like that's the epitome of you get what you pay for type of of a situation, and
Mhm.
I think we've all of us on the other side of it, I think we've all heard the many, many, many complaints of those types of businesses and the clients
Yeah.
coming out of it. Whether or both sides of it, honestly. Employees leaving and then clients leaving, and, I mean, there's
Yeah.
lots to say about it. If you could give a brow artist one piece of skincare advice to help them better prep or care for the skin around the brows, what would it be?
Okay. I would say beta glucan again
Yeah.
because you're going to really build up that skin barrier, soften the skin, hydrate the skin. I think it makes it better for any sort of treatment that you're going to go in and do, whether it be threading, waxing, peels. Like the more hydrated and supple the skin is, the better it's going to react, the better your barrier will be.
That's actually a really great point because I talk a lot about how hair that is hydrated removes better. So stiff hair that's dry and dehydrated doesn't remove from the skin very well. So it makes sense that not only keeping the hair hydrated, obviously, in order to keep the hair hydrated, you're most likely on the face at least keeping your skin hydrated. And
Right.
it's kind of just like a chain reaction. Whereas if you're keeping everything nice and healthy, of course, like at the very bottom of that being like the barrier function being your first and foremost concern, everything kind of stacking on top of it remains hydrated as well when it's not all dry and sad at the very base of it. So I think
Yeah.
that could be helpful for just hair removal too, like better, probably feeling better.
Yeah. And it could really cut I mean, it will really cut down on any sort of, like, reactions, irritation
Hmm.
that your client might have to waxing or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think also just, like, if you think about it, having improper barrier function, bad skin, and then getting something, like hair removal ripped off on top of it, it's gonna have a worse reaction, whereas if your skin is in a really healthy state and then you have that, like, quote, unquote, "damage" on top of it, like, it's gonna repair and heal and look better because it's already in such a great symbiotic state.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, fun one. If you could give a facial to any celebrity, who would it be and what treatment would you choose for them?
Justin Bieber,
Oh, I love this.
because he struggles with acne. I'm not a Justin Bieber fan. I you know, I think he's kinda spiraling right now, but
Yeah,
I think he
yeah,
could
I was
use
gonna
a
say
good
he's very
acne facial.
yeah, he's definitely very much in our faces at the current
Yeah.
moment,
But
whether
he
you're a
does
fan
have
or not.
Haley, so
Yes. I know, and she just made tons of money. That's a fun, topic of her selling her brand for like
yeah.
$1 billion or something like that to Elf. I
Yeah, I
love
love
seeing
a
stuff
good
like that.
marketing moment. I
Yeah.
don't know how the skincare is because I
Yeah,
will
me
never
either.
be trying a celebrity brand, obviously, but she's great at marketing.
Absolutely. Well, and I think one thing that I really love about her, and I think it's funny to see it in the celebrity world, because I think we see it a lot in the skincare world, is just keeping it very simple, one product at a time. I kind of like that timeless element of how she did her marketing. I'm not saying anything,
Yeah.
like you said, I've never tried the products, but I do like how she came about with one thing at a time and slowly build the routine. Because I feel like, I don't know,
Yeah.
most of the time you get bombarded with an entire line from a celebrity, and it's like,
Yeah, and I think for her, it seems a lot more genuine. I'm a huge fan of her, um, mostly because of her, like, style,
yeah,
but she seems that she's been into skincare previously. Whereas,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
Kylie Jenner's skincare line, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
It
and
just
I
doesn't
think
seem
that
as genuine.
yeah, well, and I think that, like, comparing the 2, Hailey's kind of the lack of makeup, like, her skin has to look really good for her aesthetic, whereas Kylie, like, was the makeup queen, so it's like, I don't know, I
Yeah,
feel like when you have a makeup you obviously, a good skin is a great base for makeup, but you also have the benefit of being really good at makeup, and you don't really need good skin to have a good look with makeup, I guess I could say, like, in that way.
yeah.
What is one habit or routine you personally can't skip, and one you tell your clients to stop stressing over?
Wait, so one that I can skip?
You can't, the one that you won't skip, but and then another one that you tell your clients not to stress over. So one that you absolutely is a have to, and then another one that you don't really worry about.
Gotcha, okay. So, I think probably the most important thing is to wash your face at night, a really good cleanse at night, double cleanse preferably with a, toner to really enhance the cleanse, but I think a really good cleanse at night is good. You can wake up the next morning and just give your skin a good rinse and then tone and follow with your serums. I don't believe it's necessary for everyone to cleanse twice a day.
Okay, I like that. I feel like I adopted that, but more accidentally out of laziness, so I'm excited
Yeah,
to hear that
same.
that's a positive. And also I feel like it kind of makes sense for most people just, like, how they go about their day. If you wear makeup during the day, like, obviously at the end of the day, the first thing I wanna do is get everything off my skin in order to, like, go to bed feeling better, and in the morning, I'm like, "Whatever," because
Yeah.
it feels clean from the night before.
Yeah, and a toner does a lot to balance the pH of your skin. It really enhances the cleanse. So if you just give your skin a good rinse, with your hands, and then tone, I think you're good. Of course, there's an exception to every rule. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's for everyone, but
Yep,
your
absolutely,
skin
but
is
for
your
who
greatest
knows?
barrier. Your skin is meant to protect you. I always say it doesn't need to be completely sterile all the time. It is a system, a highly specialized organ that does a really good job. So we have to let it do its job.
That's actually a really good point. I'm sure you've dealt with this a lot over your career, is just like the acne. You have dirty skin if you don't wash your skin enough. Like, I feel like that's a really good point of like, It doesn't need to
Yeah,
be sterile. It needs to just be, working in the way that it's like what your skin needs
meant
in that
to,
moment. Like
yeah.
it is, yeah, exactly. I
Yeah, it
love
gets
that.
really confusing because it's like you have acne, you think, "Okay, bacteria, I need to wash away the bacteria," but that's not necessarily true, and that's what I teach my clients. We need the good and the bad bacteria. Your barrier is so important, and then when you over cleanse your skin, you're washing down that moisture barrier, and your skin is not able to heal properly when you do that.
That's actually a really good way to put it. Obviously, there's a mix of really good messaging coming from estheticians, right? Really good education, good messaging, proper background knowledge and all that stuff. And then we have the flip side where we have big brands marketing stuff. And I think that cleansing is one of those that every brand wants you to use their cleanser and have all five of their cleansers or whatever it may be and cleanse all the time. And it's funny that cleansing, like you said, you're kind of the first one I feel like that I've seen anyways, kind of talking about how cleansing that often or that frequently is not necessary. As I kind of have seen almost the opposite from some estheticians where they're like, you're not cleansing enough, you're not cleansing enough. They could hear that and maybe they are cleansing enough and they're creating more problems trying to think that they're following along with what an esthetician is recommending.
Yeah, I always say, like, it's not like one of us is wrong and one of us is right, it's
No.
just we all have different experiences, and each one of my clients is a lesson for me, and I have my little, like, control group, so to speak, I'm not sure what to call it, but, like, I'm learning from this group of people, they're learning from that group of people, so I think we just have come to find different things, either that or, some of us are ill-informed through no fault of our own, but also there is the beauty industry, the skincare industry is, like, billions of dollars, and the more you cleanse, the more product you're gonna use, the more
Exactly.
so, I think there's a little bit of all of that sprinkled in our industry, yeah. From my
I agree.
observation over my 10 years, you don't need to cleanse twice a day.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that you're right. I think that it's not necessarily that anybody's right or wrong. I also think that it's cool to like have friends and build the community within the industry because of the fact that we're all in different locations. And I think that our region actually makes a big difference as far as what our clients need and don't need. I mean, obviously,
Exactly,
we
yeah,
are
the
in
climate,
California. Yeah, exactly. We're very dry. You know, we do get a little mix of all the seasons, but we definitely are a drier climate in general, being in a valley. And I think that other places that see, that are closer to the ocean might see different things or, mountain air could be different. Like there's so many different elements to everything and
100%, that is another
that makes a big
factor.
difference with the skin. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So for brow artists who don't specialize in skincare, what are a few signs of a compromised skin that they should be watching for before waxing or tinting?
Okay, that's a good one. So red, blotchy, irritated skin, almost like hot or warm to the touch,
Mm.
and flakiness. You can also just like gently, check the forehead by like gently pinching the skin together like this. And if you see like a bunch of creepy little
Well, that's a great
lines in the
point.
skin, that will indicate that the skin is dehydrated, which that's a very easy fix. Just add some beta glucan.
Our
But,
favorite
yeah.
episode.
Or, there's plenty of other humectants and, things that you can use, but I would say, yeah, redness, irritation, dryness, heat.
Now, is there something that we could apply in that moment that could help for that client in that exact moment of trying to do their brows or tint or whatever, just to kind of maybe not
Yeah.
overhaul, fix the problem, but kind of temporarily fix it so that the skin was in a better state for what we're doing?
Maybe just like a nice moisturizer or
Just
something
hydrate it a
along
little bit.
those lines. Yeah, just hydrate a little bit.
Okay, cool. I love that. Okay. What pre and post care skin tips do you think brow artists should be sharing with their clients who often overlook that? Like, since we are kind of sending them home in a bit of a compromised situation skin wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know with threading, I don't really find that my skin is compromised after at all, so I
A
pretty
reason
much
I love
just
it.
jump right back into doing whatever I want.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
definitely.
that's kind of the perk of getting threaded over waxing. I know waxing, does take off a layer of skin, so it's an exfoliation, so I would just say maybe avoiding your serums and just opting for a more hydrating version, but that's the great thing about threading, Megs, like you always teach us.
Yeah.
There's no rules. You can kinda
Yep.
just do what you want.
That's actually a really great point. We were just actually talking about this last time you came in to get your brows done, is like you were asking me what I was switching up now that it was summertime because as estheticians know, we kind of have to adjust our businesses a little bit and how we're doing treatments and things like that when summertime rolls around or when some winter rolls around, we kind of have to pivot how we're doing things on the daily. And I kind of laughed a little bit when you asked because I was like, I don't really have to do anything different with threading. I can do the same thing in the summer and the winter. What are some of the things that you're kind of doing with your clients when you're transitioning into summertime from winter or, spring?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Generally, I opt for much easier treatments as far as like aftercare goes. I want my clients to have no peeling, no downtime. I like to do like a hydrating enzyme treatment so they leave dewy, fresh, exfoliated, definitely exfoliated, but to where they can put makeup on afterwards and they can, go out on the boat that weekend or whatever they need to do. And then once things start to cool down a little bit and we're not doing as many like outdoor activities and the risk of sweating is lower, I'll do like my heavier, deeper peels and I'll be like, all right, are we ready to shed some skin?
I love
So
that.
yeah.
I'm sure people are like dying for it around winter time too, going through summer. I feel like we kind of near more events and different things like that. Do you notice your clients kind of itching for those deeper peels by the time summer is over? Look, I love you, but your threading game, it's giving Pinterest fail. Stop torturing your clients and yourself with made up techniques. My hand tied threading course is where you actually learn how to do it right. Perfect tension, painless technique, and brows that could cut glass. It's online, self paced, and will have you feeling like the threading queen you were meant to be. Go click the link in the show notes. Your clients' faces will thank you.
Yeah, some of them, but I also think a lot of people just love the thought of something like really quick and easy that they
That's
don't have
true.
to plan too much for.
Mhm.
So my clients have really been liking like my lighter hydrating enzyme treatments, or like even I'll do just like a really, really light peel that doesn't involve any peeling. And they love that too. So,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I'm excited for the heavy duty peels. I'm like ready.
Yeah, I think this is awesome too. I think that there's another thing I want to note is just that even as we're just discussing this back and forth, I think it's fun having a esthetician friend who's doing the skincare thing and a brow friend so that the brow friend can comment and ask questions related to the skincare and just be like, hey, what are you doing right now? Like, what are your clients seeing? Because I think, I mean, for the two of us, a lot of our clients overlap. So it's kind of nice to know when the clients are peeling or doing really chemical peels and everything like that to know for the hair removal side or the lamination or tinting or whatever we're doing, it's kind of nice to know what the clientele in your area is doing with their skincare regimen just to kind of get an idea of what we should be aware of, what we should be avoiding. Obviously, with threading, we don't have to worry too much about the skin and whether they're doing chemical peels or anything like that. But it is fun to have this relationship and
Yeah.
be able to kind of bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah, it is fun too because I usually ask my clients like, "Okay, so what are your plans? Like any social or work obligations this week?" And sometimes they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see Megs after this." And I'm like, "Okay, cool.
I know, and it's
Noted."
so fun because I have clients that come in like, "Well, I just saw Molly," or "I'm going to see Molly later," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," and she's like, "She already knows not to touch my brows," and I'm like, I literally love that so much, or like to avoid the area or whatever it may be if they're coming in
Yeah,
getting laminated.
totally. Yeah.
And you've been laminated before too, so it's fun that you get
Oh
the
yeah.
idea and the sense of how what the clients are feeling. I'll have a client come in and maybe we overlap. And I'm like, "What skincare products are you using?" And they're like, "Oh, well, Molly." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I know exactly what she offers. I
Yeah,
use the same
Molly.
products. I know exactly what you're probably experiencing," which makes
Yeah.
our life a lot easier to not have to dig and figure that out.
Yeah, totally. I love it.
How do you recommend professionals set boundaries when clients ask for skincare advice that's outside of their scope or training?
Ooh, okay. So that is a tough one. That I
Yeah.
use ChatGPT
We
and
love
I'm
chat.
like, "Can you respond to this message?" Because yeah, are you referring to more like because my scope, and I always tell my clients this, I help I treat the skin through the pore. So
Okay.
I have, recommendations, gentle guidelines on foods that trigger acne or like lifestyle factors that could be contributing to your skin, like hormones, things like that. But I am by no means qualified to recommend that you go on a diet or tell you what to eat and what
Yeah.
not to eat. So I always use the expression, or like I always say, I treat acne through the pore. So it kind of keeps me in my little bubble, but I also know how beneficial a really good, smart skincare routine can be to acne, whether the root cause is beyond my scope of practice, like hormones, I can still help.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is tough because we do have just kind of a small scope, but I do think we can change people's skin. I mean, we have. We do all the
Yeah.
time. So
Totally, and I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's the same way where if you're seeking something out and you're looking for a specialist, if the specialist says what you're asking isn't their cup of tea, like, then you've gone outside of what you're looking for, right? Like, if you're seeking me out and I can't help you with what you're asking, then obviously your targets are misaligned, right? Like, whatever you're seeking for is not quite it. So, I feel like when you seek out a professional, the best thing to do is follow what the professional is saying, right?
yeah,
Not
exactly.
asking questions or seeking out different things that are outside of our scope or maybe fall under a doctor's purview or a dietitian's purview, like you were saying. And we can always refer and recommend if we want to be like, hey, that's not really my thing. I think you should talk to a dietitian or, whatever the situation is. But I think it's really important to maintain that boundary. And I like the way that you put it into a term that's easy for anyone to understand, like saying that you're treating through the poor. I feel like that's a really good way that you stand on business.
Stand on
To
business.
be very yeah.
Is it talking to you?
Yeah, right. But I think it's important to, like, stick with that and avoid, misconstruing what your goals are and what you're planning on doing with them and as a
Yeah.
client, and I think that's really important. I think that it falls into the same category for brow artists too, of just trying to stick to what we know and, the same way I'm a brow artist, and it's been years since I've practiced skin. I'm certainly not giving recommendations for skincare anymore. I'm sending them to you, and it's not even that that's outside of my scope, but it's outside of my scope of my targeted focus at the current moment.
Like
Like, I can help you.
your niche. Totally.
Yeah. I'm not up on the current trends. I haven't studied skincare as in depthly as you have in the last few years. It's outside of the brows. Of course, I'm not saying that I'm skipping on any of that, but, like, I'm certainly not up on it as much as I would be, whereas I'm, concerned about the hair and the hair removal and that kind of thing, and really zoned into a very specific location of the skin versus the entire
Okay,
face.
yeah. Yeah, I see, totally. And I do, in that sense where people will ask me like, "Oh, do you do lashes or do you do spray tans or do you dermaplane?" I don't
Yeah.
because I really want to niche down on treating the skin. And that's what I've done for the whole 10 years has been nothing but treating the skin. And I think that's what makes me so good at it because I have all this time, all of this experience. Like, what's that expression? Like, jack of all trades, master of none. I think we can fall into that trap because there's so many things we can do in our license with our
Yes.
license. And obviously, we all want to turn a profit and we want to earn as much money as we can, but I don't want to compromise on the quality of my service and my expertise. So I
Absolutely.
know my brain can only do so much so well.
Yes,
And that's
and it's
why
so
I'm
funny.
just,
Yeah. It's so funny too because a few years ago when I was making that decision, we had the discussion and I was talking about how I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep doing skincare and you were like, "You should keep niching down to brows, like it's your thing." And I was so on
yeah,
the fence because of course the money aspect, like you were just saying, like it's hard and especially when you've established yourself a little bit. I definitely wasn't as established as I am now, but I was established a little bit and I had a decent small pack of facial clients and I just didn't want to let them go. And then we had that discussion and I was just like looking forward and seeing, like, these 2 paths kind of separate and being like, "Wow, if I stay the current trend, I'm gonna be so split focus-wise, like, how do I keep up with all of my brow lamination, tinting, all of that? How do I keep up with all that education? Then on the flip side, how do I keep up with all the skincare education as it continues to grow and different treatments and all the different things?" And it was just too much to worry about, and like you said, I want my services to be top tier. I want whatever I'm specializing in or focusing on or offering to my clientele to be, exact like, as best as I could possibly do it. And I think part of that is niching down and finding what you're really either what you're really wanting to do, whether you're good at it or not, and then really just like buckling down and getting good at it. And
yeah,
looking back 10 years past, I feel like we both chose a specialty and really stuck with it. Even through my like mix of doing other things, I know that if I look back at the history of it all, I was always really more a brow specialist. So it makes sense. And
totally. Yeah, it kind of finds you too.
yeah. I like that. That's a good point. Now, going the flip side, if once we're kind of niched, I feel like we kind of reach a point where you can still be within your niche and then we can kind of get creative, which is really fun. And I've spoken about this recently of how just because because I feel like in skincare, it's a little bit different. You know, you guys can stay really broad, but in brows, it feels like when you're niching down, you're pigeonholing yourself because brows, there's only so many things we can do with brows. And I
Yeah.
think that's when we kind of get to a moment where we can get a little bit more creative with the way that we do things. And like we said, our scope is pretty wide. You know, there's a lot of things we can do with our license, which is really fun. And what would you say if like a brow artist wanted to slowly introduce skincare into their services? Where do you think the best place to start would be?
Well, I like that you do like brow serums and things like that, like the oils and things that you've had in the past. And then, yeah, I mean, I think just having like a really simple, maybe, I mean, retail stock of like some gentle cleansers, that kind of translates really well because you want to use like good stuff. You're washing your brows with it too.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, I think retail, right?
Yeah. Getting into maybe just like little simple, this is what I use to cleanse your brows today, retell it, and
Yeah,
or like under eye treatments. I feel like having like an under eye
under eye
mask or
treatments,
something would be
yeah.
cool. Cause I think the other thing is almost like looking at the face and kind of creating zones for it. So if we're in the brow
Yeah,
industry, we kind of have our zone, right? And that's the eye area. So I think that it makes sense to kind of hone in on your zone and then have like fun retail is a great way to make more money, obviously, if you're retailing products. So like under eye masks or under eye creams, serums, different things like that. But I think that as long as it's all circling back to like the services that you're offering. And I think one thing that you were talking about earlier and is kind of a universal thing is maintaining that barrier. So anything that's in support of the barrier, I think could be beneficial for any artist, honestly.
100% love that.
Yeah. Okay, what is your take on this is a funny one. I don't know if you're as up in this or not, but what's your take on brow specific skincare? Are there any myths or musts or marketing trends that you are loving or hating?
Brow specific? No,
Yeah, there's a lot
I'm
of
not up on it. I'm
there's
not
a
up on
lot of new things happening in the brow world and I find it really funny.
Okay.
I should be sending these to you and having talks with you because I find it interesting. But as the this is newer and I think that you've noticed obviously clients are doing more with their skincare than ever before. You know, 10 years ago they were not I don't think majority of our clientele were had as extensive skincare lines as they do now. Or regimens, I should say. I think most of us have more than, 1 to 2 products in our bathrooms nowadays. We're doing daily routines versus every couple days. I think most of us younger guys and gals are doing more. I think that we've just seen an uptick of the entire beauty industry as a whole.
Yeah,
And our clientele are paying attention and they're doing either the right or wrong things, whether they're following our recommendations or TikTok's recommendations. And the waxing world has kind of had a reaction to that, if you will. And so they've created products that are like skincare-esque, but related to the waxing world. So they kind of like are powders that create barriers so that you can wax on top of a compromised barrier and post products that are like serums that have like a green base to them or something. So it's kind of like makeup, but also a serum to help calm and soothe the skin. Um
interesting.
yeah, so we're kind of and I think that it's or serums, post-wax serums, we've come towards like, versus back when we first started waxing or when we first started the beauty industry when we were in beauty school, there was like the cleanser, the like bright blue cleanser, and then there was like the green aloe that you use post and then like that weird pink
Yes,
lotion.
what was that brand?
I think it was like
So
satin and smooth or something.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Last
I
time
think
I
most
ever
of us can
waxed.
picture the
Yeah.
beauty school, like those bright, vibrant colored products.
Mhm.
And now we've moved away from that. We're now using like real cleansers performing before, not just like that weird blue liquid. I don't even know what was in it.
Yeah.
And we've moved away from just straight up using aloe as a post product to, something that maybe has like better, more beneficial ingredients in it.
Yeah.
But what is something that we should be watching for? Like filler ingredients? Is there something that's like, what if you were looking for a product that was actually created well versus just kind of thrown together with a cute logo on it? What is a couple of things that we could be noticing maybe on the ingredient list or just kind of in general looking at it?
Okay, yeah. So, I think there's nothing wrong with getting your skincare at the drugstore if that's what you have access to and that's within your means. It's gonna be fine. All skincare on the market is going to be under the same scrutiny and it's all generally deemed safe. Okay. So you're not gonna harm yourself by using
Yeah.
drugstore. But there is a difference between the products that you get from an esthetician and the products that you get from the drugstore or even Ulta and Sephora because esthetician brands are formulated for results. They're very specific delivery systems and high concentration of active ingredients. They're designed to be used with instruction from a professional. You don't just go buy them off the shelf and that's the difference because at the drugstore, Ulta and Sephora, those products need to be made so anybody can pick them up and use them and not have a
Yes.
reaction. But you've heard me say this a million times, no reaction means no results. So there is going to be a difference from drugstore to esthetician products. And you can really see the difference when you start using it. But I don't think that there's any like specific ingredients because, as you know, we can't really just like look at an ingredient deck and say, oh, this is going to be good for your skin, this is going to be bad because the same ingredients don't always make the same cake. That's like the expression that I use.
I love
But
that.
you need to use it. You need to try it to see the difference. So I would say things that you get from an esthetician or you have like a professional assisting you and recommending things and showing you how to use them are always going to be more effective than things that you can just buy straight off the shelf.
Totally. So, if you're looking to add to your back bar as far as like products that you want to use with a client,
Okay.
what recommendation would you have for us like seeking something out? Should it be ask your SD friend? Should it be what should we be doing? Using stuff that we're using at home in our regimen or
Yeah, I mean, start with what you like for your skin. And there's so many good brands out there that I think would be great to add into your brow services. But I just think general rule of thumb if you're a professional using professional skincare. So
yeah.
not like drunk elephant or anything. You want to go for like the Glymeds or the Hydrinity or things like that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this episode. This was such a fun chat. I know it was a long time coming. Um, and I know we've talked about it so many different times. I think next time we'll have to do an in-person episode. I think that'll be fun. Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will catch you next Thursday.